For some reason, Washington just continues to get crapped on by so many people. So Vegas has the Huskies as a 9.5-point underdog against Oregon in the Pac-12 Championship game, despite the fact that they beat Oregon. And I'm getting tired of people saying, well, Oregon didn't really lose that game because Washington outplayed them. They had a couple of fourth down moments that didn't go their way. If they didn't have those mistakes, they would have won that game. Listen, okay, you can make that excuse for why Oregon lost, but at the same time, you're not going to give credit to Washington for stopping Oregon on their fourth down attempts 3 times and giving Michael Penix the ball and Washington going downfield and scoring the eventual game-winning touchdown? That's really odd to me. People are treating Washington like they're not a good team. They're undefeated for a reason. They beat in Oregon State. They beat in USC. Yeah, they've had a couple of close calls like against Stanford and Arizona State. But all that matters is the fact that they're undefeated. And the fact that they're a 9.5-point underdog against Oregon is absolutely absurd to me. If you're somebody who's betting money on this, I'm not giving you any gambling advice. Gamble at your own discretion, but I feel damn good about taking Washington plus 9.5. Not saying they're going to win, but we need to stop propping up Oregon like they're just such this behemoth of a team. They played some really good football this season, but so has Washington. Bo Nix is a Heisman finalist, and so is Michael Penix. We treating Washington like they're not undefeated, like they haven't proven to be one of the best teams in college football. There's a reason why they were ranked in the top 4 last week over Florida State. We got to give Washington some more respect than what they're getting right now. People, ever since they lost to Oregon, were saying it's only a matter of time before they get another L, and they keep on winning games. The sign of a good team is one that can find ways to win, even if they are in games that shouldn't be close. Okay, yeah. Washington wasn't able to blow out Utah the same way Oregon was, and Oregon, they blew the brakes off Oregon State, and that game against Oregon State for Washington was really close. But what about the game when Washington beat Oregon? That game was pretty close. You see, I can only judge a team based on what they do when they play you. And Oregon, yeah, they look like one of the best teams in college football, but so does Washington. People are making this game seem like it's such a giant mismatch when both teams have great offenses. They're stacked at wide receiver. They got really good offensive lines. The only difference between the two is that Oregon starts out fast and Washington starts out slow. But Washington's defense has played some of their best football over the last couple of weeks. You see, I think too many people are so enamored with all the excuses that the national media likes to make for teams when they lose a close game against a team like Washington that doesn't have the same dominance in their wins. Washington is still as talented as what Oregon is. There's not a single position that Oregon has on their offense that's better than Washington's. They're both evenly matched. Oregon has a better defense. I'll give them credit for that. But when they played Washington, they couldn't stop Washington from getting the game-winning touchdown to win the game, could they? When you're going against this Washington offense, which is one of the best in college football, there's not too many defenses that are equipped to stop it. And there were people saying that Oregon was going to blow out USC. And yeah, USC, that game was pretty close. They only won that game 36-27. And Washington, they were going up and down the field on USC. I don't think Washington is this team that everybody makes them out to be. I think that Washington is a really good team. They're an elite team, and elite teams find ways to win close games. College football is a week-by-week sport. You can't judge a team based on what they did last week, because the same team that you saw last week in the Apple Cup may not be the same team that you see in the Pac-12 Championship. It's easy to say that Oregon has been the better team since these two teams played, but people making it seem like Washington isn't undefeated for a reason. They've beaten some really good teams. Yeah, they may have been close, but styles make fights. And this Washington team, they're going to be really amped up when they play Oregon. When you got two great quarterbacks such as Michael Penix and Bo Nix, it's hard to see any team winning this game by 9.5 points or more. And Oregon isn't 9.5 points better than Washington. They've been playing some great football, but it's not like they've been playing crazy competition. They beating some good teams, but same thing has Washington. The only difference is that they're beating these teams by way comfortable margins. But I don't think point differential is the determining factor in how good a team is or ain't. At the end of the day, what matters is the wins and the losses. Because you can't judge a team based on what they've done in previous games because you may not get that same version of that team. You want a good example? Auburn lost to New Mexico State at home and nearly beat Alabama in the Iron Bowl. Hell, last season, Alabama almost lost to Auburn in the Iron Bowl and they beat the hell out of Georgia in the SEC Championship game. Well, not last year, but a year ago when Bryce Young had won the Heisman Trophy. So you just can't judge a team based on their margin of victory all the time. Washington beat Oregon for a reason. They were better in late game situations and Kalen DeBoer outcoached Dan Lanning. You see, when your team doesn't execute in fourth down situations and you're going for touchdowns instead of kicking the field goal before halftime, that's a coaching decision. And Kalen DeBoer, when he had to make the better in-game decisions, his team was in a better situation to win than what Oregon was. So, for Oregon to be a 9.5 point favorite against Washington is really crazy to me. And I think a lot of you guys are going to be really surprised when you see the way this Pac-12 championship goes. And I'm not giving you a prediction. I'm saving that for tomorrow's episode. But I'm pretty confident in saying that Washington is going to cover that plus 9.5. If I was to do best bets this week, this game would definitely be on here because Oregon's a really good team. And even if they win this game, I doubt it's going to be by 9.5. I think people need to pump the brakes a little bit on Oregon. Not saying they aren't good enough to win it all, but so is Washington. Washington's defense has played really good, and they got tons of great wide receivers, and they got Michael Penix at quarterback.